Hello everyone, thanks for tuning in to the latest vlog here on the Gavin Partridge YouTube channel. This is the 1000th video upload here on this channel, and this is my original channel going all the way back to the 31st of December, New Year's Eve 2011. Was when I created this channel a long time ago, and in that time recorded 1000 videos, this being the 1000th vid. And yeah, it's quite an interesting vid, this one, because we're back to mouth cancer for this one. Of course, as you know, I had mouth cancer diagnosis last year. And it's actually this date last year, 31st of March 2022, that I had an operation to remove the cancer on the side of my tongue, and also to cut the neck, and neck dissection to test the glands to make sure there had been no metastasis from the mouth into the neck. The glands were fine, so luckily I was able to stop treatment at just an operation. I didn't have to have radiotherapy or chemo. And as it's like 1 year anniversary of it all happening, you know, today, and over the past week or two, you know, leading up to the diagnosis and that, but I just want to do a vlog to let you all know and chart how I've been over the past year. So I hope that's okay, and you know, if you're interested, then stick around, and please like, share, subscribe with the videos on the channel. We also do opinion polling videos. Occasionally we do Star Wars videos, especially old weather videos here on the channel that were released between 2012 and 2014, before I moved the weather vids to the Gav's Weather Vids YouTube channel. But the original weather videos are still here. So if everybody wants to go back and watch those, watch Gav doing the day job but not very well back in 2012 and 2013, then you can do so. I had a cold winter 2012-13. So we haven't had many since, mate. So you can see Gav forecasting for a cold winter back then. And I'm not very good. Not hardly anybody was watching the videos, but the videos are still there if anybody would want to do that. My historic video for the winter of 1962-1963 has gone over 50,000 views in the last month or two. So, you know, that's epic. That's about the biggest video I've ever done. There is another one on the Gav's Weather channel. It's over 60,000, but that's just like a random JMA Friday type video that took off some reason. So I regard like the Winter 62-63 historic video here on this channel as like the main, my biggest video. Fortunately, the bits aren't monetized though, so I don't get any money for that, but at least it's still there anyway. So yeah, you know, the bits on this channel aren't monetized. We have reached the required subscription to monetization. We're over 1,000 subs, but unfortunately, because I don't release all that much content on this channel, a little bit down on watch hours, so that's why the vids remain unmonetized for the time being. I have got to upload more, and hopefully I'll be able to get the videos monetized again. Anyway, enough about that. I'm off on a tangent, so let's get back to what we're here for, which is mouth cancer. So, as I say, this time last year, this day last year, I had my operation. So I just explained that before that, it all kicks off really. The whole scenario starts in like 2012, 2013. When I had a white patch appear. Actually a little bit before that, probably around 2010, 2009, 2010, I had like a very thin sort of veil of white appearing on the oral mucosa on the side of my tongue, and it gradually got thicker and thicker and thicker. So by the time I got through to 2013, I had to have a biopsy on this white patch. The patch came back as being dysplasia, moderate dysplasia, which is pre-cancer, which is a little bit unusual because I don't smoke and, you know, I don't drink that much, despite how it may appear on a Friday night live stream. But I think like my tongue been rubbing on the side of my tongue, and that created the white patch, but why it then progressed onto dysplasia was a little bit of a mystery. Anyway, I had to have the white patch lasered off. You know, that had to be removed in 2013, and after that everything was fine. You know, it all settled down, all looked good. Occasionally it will feel sore. I would get the odd little split or something appearing around the side, but nothing particularly worrying. And then we got into like the final sort of 3 or 4 months of 2021, and it erupted into an ulcer. I had this ulcer erupt. And I waited for it to settle down, you know, I was thinking perhaps I've bitten it or something, but it gradually got worse. So by the end of 2021 into the start of 2022, I realised, you know, something wasn't right with it, so I've got to get it checked out because it's in a high-risk site anyway. So I eventually got to see my old consultant, Mr. Amarani, who had done the original surgery, and it was confirmed through a biopsy, you know, that this was a squamous cell carcinoma. This was mouth cancer, tongue cancer. And though I very, very rapidly then moved through the system, of course, and on this date last year, 31st of March 2022, I had an operation to remove the tongue cancer, a wide excision, to cut out the tongue cancer. I was lucky that it wasn't, it was small enough that I didn't need a graft. So what they do with mouth cancer or tongue cancer is if it's small enough, it can be cut out with a wide excision and, you know, a margin around of healthy tissue. I mean, stitch it back together. If too much of the tongue has to be removed, they have to do a graft, and that typically will involve like cutting the arm. Sometimes it's the leg, but usually it's the arm. Cutting the arm somewhere around there, and then taking a piece of the arm and putting it onto the tongue, you know, grafting it on. And that can leave you with quite significant speech impediment. So I was very lucky that I managed to get out of it with just a wide excision, just to cut the cancer out, but leave the majority of the tongue still behind as a functioning tongue. I also had to have a cut to the neck because the first place, usually anyway, first place that mouth cancer will go to is to the glands in the neck. Remember, cancer's trying to spread through the body, so it will start in one area, and then the cells unique for cancer, other cells can't do this, but unique for cancer cells, malignant cells, is that they can decouple from, you know, the original site, and they start spreading through the body. They usually do that with mouth cancer through the glands in the neck, so that the cells will go from the mouth down to the lymph glands in the neck, and then from there they will spread typically to the lung. And of course, when it gets into the lung, then it's a much more serious diagnosis. So to check to make sure there's no spread going on, they cut the neck and take out the glands to you know, to test the glands under the microscope to see whether there's any metastasis from the mouth into the neck. Of course, if it's advanced in the neck, then you can feel lumps and bumps. I had no lumps and bumps, so that was a good indication, but microscopically cells could have spread from mouth to the neck, so they have to check that. And that was like the biggest part of the operation, to be honest. If it had just been like the mouth operation, I reckon I would have been out like the next day, probably. But with a cut to the neck, it was quite a significant cut. I showed it when I got out of hospital on a video, you know, the first video that I did when I got home, and I got like staples. I think I got around 20 staples running from the bottom of my ear to the middle. I mean, I can actually show you the neck. So this is how the neck is looking. Now I've got a little bit of stubble there. I haven't had a shave for a couple of days. So, but that's where that's where the scar runs from. You know, from just under the ear, around there. So they've hidden it really, really well. I was very, very worried about that side of the operation. You know, how it would look. Doing the weather videos, I don't want to be frightening people, and you know, I have quite a young audience as well. I don't want to be frightening kids with the weather videos with this massive scar. You know, I was quite worried about that, but they've done an incredible job of hiding that. You know, running it through the fold and underneath the neck. So I can't complain about that at all. Unless I pointed out, hardly anybody notices it. You know, when I'm out and about. I don't get I don't get stares and things, you know. So it's incredible how they've done that. I'm very pleased, you know, from a cosmetic point of view, how that came out. I didn't have any impacts from that either. You can get quite a few side effects from a neck dissection. So you can get like numbness to the shoulders. Maybe got nerves that are running up and down in the neck, quite significant. Blood vessels, of course, you know, taking blood from the heart to the brain. So they have to be very careful of that when they're doing a cut to the neck, obviously. But also you get quite a lot of nerves that go up into the face and down into the shoulder and the arm. And so you can sometimes get numbness in the face, so and in the mouth, in the lips. So I might have had a lopsided grin. I think he did have a bit of a lopsided grin up, but I can smile. You know, I can smile okay now, but I think at the start I had a bit of a lopsided grin. But you can get like an effect that looks like you've had a bit of stroke, something like that, with your mouth going off to the side. And you can also get numbness in the shoulder and in the arm with a neck dissection. And that can be quite debilitating, especially because I'm right-handed and this is on my right side. So if I've had like a numbness of the shoulder and not been able to use the arm and the hand very well, then that could have been quite debilitating. Luckily, I avoided all of that. So partly due to this, how good my doctor was, I would think, and partly due to the fact that very quickly after the operation, I started doing exercises. You know, there are lots of exercises that you do with the neck and for the arm and for the shoulder. I did a video on that a couple of weeks after I got home, you know, going through all of the various exercises that you do. So if you'd be interested in that, then go back through the playlist, the mouth cancer playlist. There is a video there that talks you through all of the exercises that you have to do. Just recently, actually, I have noticed a little bit that I tend to have a little bit of stiffness turning my head, actually, to this side. So I only notice it when I'm in the car. I can turn the head all right, but I can feel it. It doesn't hurt, but I kind of like feel it pulling a little bit through the neck. So when I'm doing a reverse, I've got to shift myself round like that, you know, when I'm reversing the car, rather than being able to turn my head round. I can turn the head round, but I can feel it pulling, you know, up the neck. So that's something that's just happened over the past month or two. I assume that's like a long-term effect from the operation. But it's very, 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 very minor, you know. If that's as bad as it gets getting out of this, then it's fine. That's no problem whatsoever. Other than that, the neck dissection's been absolutely great. As far as the mouth side of the operation is concerned, that went incredibly well. So you can hear I can speak absolutely 100% clear. But it's a very, very, very slight difference that I'm going to be left with, I think. So, there, especially when I'm tired, and this will be most notable on web videos that I'm recording late at night. Hence, I don't record late at night as much, especially the long videos. If anybody's been with me for a while, they remember that I used to record like half an hour to an hour long-range videos at like 11:30 midnight at night. It sounds crazy, doesn't it? But that used to be how I did like the long videos. And I don't do that now, partly because I can do them in the day because I'm here in the house on my own, so the house is always quiet now. And mainly, though, because it gets later on at the night, and I do find that my tongue gets tired, and when it gets tired, I do start to slur a little bit. My speech just doesn't sound quite as good. I still struggle with S's a little bit. You remember when I first had the operation, I did have a nightmare with the S sound. It is much better, you know, it's improved a lot. There's barely any difference, but there is still a slight change on that sound. And I assume I'll be left with that, you know, so that will be like a long-term, very slight difference. But essentially, I think I sound more or less still like I always do. I think my voice is a little bit deeper. I'm not sure why that is, but it has left me with a slightly deeper voice compared to what I had before. But again, hopefully, you know, that's no bad thing. Maybe that's an improvement. I don't know. That's the only thing I really think of really on the speech side of it. Otherwise, it's all gone great. I have got a little bit of a dry mouth. I think one of the saliva glands underneath the right side of my tongue, you know, I think one of the saliva glands got damaged. So I do notice, especially this side of the mouth, gets quite dry when I'm talking for quite a while. It's quite dry at the moment. And especially at night, you know, when I'm asleep, I wake up the next morning, I have a very dry mouth on this side. And it's always a little bit moister on that side, which is, you know, quite interesting. But again, it's no problem. Just have a glass of water, and it's absolutely fine, you know. And compared to if I had to have radiotherapy, for instance, that completely destroys your saliva glands, and they very rarely come back, or only very slightly come back. And I would have had to have taken medication, you know, to moisten the mouth synthetically, if I'd had to have radiotherapy. So again, I can't complain about the mouth side of the operation. The speech is fine. The swallowing is always okay. You know, initially, of course, it was quite painful, but if you push yourself through the pain barrier, for both eating, speaking, swallowing, then you know, it's fine. And I was eating virtually as well. I'm sure you remember I had my burger and chips like about a couple of weeks after I got out of hospital. I posted a picture of having a burger and chips. That's like 2 weeks after having mouth operation. It was very painful to do that. It was very sore to do that, but I pushed myself through it. I do eat slower, you know. I notice that I eat a lot slower. Again, that's not necessarily a bad thing. You enjoy the taste more, and it's probably healthier to eat slower as well, I think, because you chew the food a little bit more, and that's better for digestion. So that's because of the swallowing side of it. Initially, I was quite worried. You know, I had to really chew up the food to make sure I didn't choke on it. And that's just something that stayed with me, and that's just how I eat and swallow now. But honestly, I can't complain whatsoever. If anybody's going to have this operation, which, remember, is the wide excision operation, if I'd had to have the graft, if I had to have the cut to the arm and the graft onto the tongue, then it would have been a much more significant operation. It would have been more significant recovery, and the long-term effects would have been more significant. So there is the difference between the two. Anybody that's having a wide excision, it is very, very easily doable, you know, and I've come out of it absolutely 100% fine. I'm going to go to pictures to show you, so I'll just very quickly show you those. So this was taken, this is my mouth. I'm so sorry, everybody, for showing you Gavin's mouth. But this is how things were looking about the end of 2021. So this is kind of like a December, Christmas-ish, 2021. And that's the cancer, you know, that's the mouth cancer, just there, like a creamy sort of film. I could actually scrape that off, and underneath it, it was like a red sore bed. But then that film will come back very, very quickly. So that's like end of 2021. This is just before my operation in 2022, and so this is like mid to late March 2022. Notice how it's becoming much more ulcerated. Notice how you've got this indentation going around here. That is where the cancer, which at this point is like on the surface, I think. That's just like a carcinoma in situ, probably, or stage 1. But by this point, we're getting to stage 2. So it is time to progress on a little bit. And by that point, you can see how the you know, how it begins to get indentated. I think that's the word. And that's where the cancer begins to start pushing deeper into the tongue. So if I'd left it any longer, then that could have started going quite deeply invasive. As it is, it was a stage 2 squamous cell carcinoma. I should have said that at the beginning. So I'll tell you about the overall you know, the overall grading in a moment, but it was a stage 2 cancer. And then this, I remember this very well, this is my drain. This was my nemesis. So what happens with this? See that pipe there? That pipe is going into my neck. So I've got this large pipe, but it's going into my neck, and that is draining out, you know, the blood and lymph fluid, because the lymph system, you know, is connected by fluid. A little bit complicated to explain, but that's a mixture of like blood and lymph gland fluid. And that was my nemesis. That kept me in hospital for like a day or a day and a half longer than I was hoping I'd be in hospital for. And I became a little bit obsessed with that, you know, because everywhere you go, obviously you've got the pipe going into the neck, the tube into the neck, you have to carry that around with you. So wherever you go on the ward, you had to take that with you. And I did get a little bit obsessed about that in the end. I was kind of like sat on my hospital bed just staring at it, trying to work out if it was still going on, because they can't take the tubing out until it stops draining, until most of the draining starts, because if they take the tubing out too early, the neck will just fill up with that fluid and you'll get like a big hematoma that will eventually you have to go back into hospital for and have it drained out. So until they won't let you go until the draining stops. And so I was sat there, you know, I felt all right. I could have been at home, but, you know, I just sat there on the bed, staring at this thing, cursing it. And it's quite funny now, looking back on it, you know, because what's the day here and there? What's the day in hospital extra, you know, compared to what they'd said? But at the time, I got quite upset that I was there for, like, because they get you, like, when they think you'll be able to go home, you know, how long you're going to be in hospital for. I mean, if you go, like, a day over, or at least with me, anyway, I did get a little bit upset about it. And I just, you know, just staring at this bottle, and it's funny to look back on it now, because a day, you know, a day extra, what's that, you know, in the circumstances, in the scenario, but at the time I got a bit obsessed with my nemesis, with my drain bottle, but when it stopped draining, you know, they took out the tubing, and then that was it. I was off on my way, and it was all absolutely fine, and I was able to recover at home. It was quite a lengthy recovery. So I found that, like, for the first week or two, I just kept sleeping a lot. I actually fell asleep. I had a bit of a shopping delivery brought one Saturday, and I was here online. I wasn't working, but I was watching, you know, YouTube videos of that, and I just sort of put my head back and fell asleep. The shopping guy, you know, came, and he was ringing the doorbell, banging on the door, banging on the window, and I was fast asleep. And in the end, he ran the phone, I think. He'd been stood out there for about 10 minutes watching me sleeping in this chair, and he was very upset with me, actually. He was quite cross. This was Ocado. Generally, Ocado were quite good, but this particular driver was, you know, he was quite nasty. And I did explain that, you know, I'm so sorry, but I've had a significant operation. It's made me extremely sleepy and tired. And you know, I just fell asleep, and I'm so sorry about that. And when I explained it, Ben he was kinder about it, but initially he was quite you know, quite nasty, actually. Though, you know, that just goes to show that you never know what people's circumstances are. So yeah, everybody's got their own issues and their own things going on, haven't they? So for the first week or two, I was very tired. I was very sleepy after operation. And that is when the body does its recovering, of course. It's just a significant thing that I've had done. I've had a big cut to the neck. I've had the glands removed. So there's a lot of repairing that's going on that my body is doing, you know, to repair the damage that has been taken in this done in this controlled way through the operation. And so that was the reason that initially I was very sleepy. That wore off after about a couple of weeks. It probably took about a month for me to feel like I was kind of getting back to normality. Probably about 3 to 4 months before I felt like physically I was back to normal. Of course, I was going through a very stressful time as well, because my mum was very ill, and she subsequently passed away a couple of months later after this operation. So I was going through a very stressful time anyway, but it took till about June or July before physically I felt like I was back, you know, back 100% to how I was before the operation. And it's very strange because actually with that mouth cancer I felt absolutely fine, other than the fact that I had got that abnormal lesion on the tongue. There was no symptoms, you know, from that at all. Very little pain, a little bit of soreness, but very little. Right at the very end, actually the morning before I had the operation, the morning of the day that I had the operation, it bled slightly when I was brushing my teeth before I was going to go to hospital. And that was the very first time it bled. So that was a sign, I think, you know, but it was beginning to progress on a little bit. But other than that, I've been absolutely fine. So it's very strange that you feel fine, but you've got something that's potentially quite serious. And you actually, after treatment, you feel worse, you know, than you did before. But again, that's one of the things that a lot of people go through with cancer. Cancer very rarely gives much in the way of trouble until it goes somewhere significant. And then when it goes somewhere significant, then you start to become very, very, very unwell very, very quickly. And that's one of the reasons that cancer gets diagnosed later, of course, because very rarely in its early stages does it give any symptoms. I was lucky, but I was able to see. It's in a place where I was able to see what was going on. But say it's in the internal, say it's in the throat, in the esophagus, somewhere like that, sometimes on part of the skin that you can't see very well, then it can get left, you know, get much more serious, because cancer will become very serious very quickly if it goes somewhere significant, like a lung or the liver or, you know, brain, that sort of area. My overall staging, by the way, was T2, N0, M0, grade 1. So cancer is staged through the T and M scale. So for T stands for tumour. Tumour 2, in my case, tumour can go from 1 to 4. 1 being it actually goes from carcinoma in situ, which is where it's just sitting on the surface. But in terms of invasive cancer, it's like 1 to 4. 1 being the least invasive, 4 being the most invasive. N is your nodes, your lymph nodes. So I was N0, but of course you can get N1 if you've got one node that's been invaded with cancer, N2, N3, so on. And M stands for metastasis. And metastasis is when you have spread of the cancer to distant sites, distant sites, and that will normally come after N. So you can have let's say T3, M1, M0. It would be very unusual to have like T3, N0, M3. But it can happen, you know, because cancer can also spread through the blood rather than the lymphatic system, which actually is what happened with my mum, Mrs. P, with her breast cancer. She never had any lymph node involvement, but nevertheless, around 10 years after her original stage 1 breast cancer, it metastasized into her bones, and that is what eventually pulled her down to the point where we lost her. So that can happen, but it is quite unusual, quite rare. Normally, it will go through the lymphatic system first, and then grading. But my grade was grade 1, and that's the lowest grade. So with the grading, it's 1, 2, 3. The 1 is where the cancer cells are like the most closely resembling healthy cells, where they are still cancer cells, they're mostly resembling healthy cells. Grade 3 is where they are very extremely abnormal and highly aggressive. So I was on the lowest grade, which I was quite, you know, that's quite fortunate for me, and it's one of the reasons I think that despite being quite delayed getting the operation done, you know, in the end it hadn't gone too invasive and it hadn't started spreading. So there we go. That's brought you up to date. I had like a scan, my 1 year scan, ultrasound scan of the neck. I had that about 3 weeks ago, which is absolutely fine. You know, everything looked good. I went back to NGH a couple of days ago for my 1 year follow-up appointment. I've been followed up on 2 monthly basis ever since the operation, by the way. So initially you'll have very regular follow-up appointments with your doctor Saw the doctor, he felt all round the neck, it's all looking fine. Looked him about, that's looking okay too. And yeah, it's gone good, it's gone well, I can't complain. You know, I'll show you how the mouth is looking now, so, okay. So sorry, I'm showing you my mouth, everybody. But there we go, that's how it looks. Obviously, you can see it looks a lot better than it did. My tone's a little bit shorter. I can't, you know, it's a little bit of a stretch to push it out on the side of my mouth. But I can't complain. It's been very, very, very doable. The treatment has been fine. The follow-up has been fine. The after effects have been fine. I've been really lucky that I didn't need chemo or radiotherapy, particularly radiotherapy, which is very damaging to the mouth and the head and the neck. But if you have to have treatment, you have to have treatment, as I said at the time. But I didn't want it, you know. I was hoping I wouldn't have to have it, and as it turned out, I didn't have to have it. So I've done all right. I think Gav's done okay. Let me know in the comments what you think. But I think Gav did good. I hope I did. I think I did. And yeah, and it's onwards and upwards now. You know, I managed to get all of the weather videos back last summer. And I had to stop, obviously, for a month or two. I had to stop doing all of the things that we all love, the live streaming and the web videos and that. But I got it all back, and we're back in business. And we've been back in business but since last summer, and it's gone great. So here's to the future, everybody. Let's hope that's the end of the saga. Obviously, it could recur. You know, there's no guarantee after cancer. The greatest chance of recurrence is in the first year. I've got through the first year without recurrence, so I've got past that hurdle. I've got another 4 years to go before they will use the C word, before we can say that I am cured from this. It's generally 5 years that you have to go say that you're cured. At the moment, I'm in remission and I'm NED, NED, no evidence of disease, which is what you want to hear. You know, if you're a cancer patient, you want to be NED, and that is my status at the moment. I've got another 4 years to go before I can start using the C word, before I can start saying that I'm cured. But overall, it's looking good, you know, and I'm confident that that's it. And I am past the saga. But again, don't want to set base. I'm going to touch wood. Right, okay, been a very long video. Thank you so much, everybody, for sticking with it. Over half an hour. I haven't done one of these, you know, since last summer, so I thought it was time to bring you an update, bring you up to date with everything. And there we go. So that's it. 1 year post treatment. I'm still here. I'm doing fine. I'm in remission. I'm NED. There's no evidence of disease, and it's looking good at this stage. So if anything changes with that, obviously I will let everybody know. This will probably be the last update I would do on it for the time being, as there's not really much else to talk about, I don't think. But, you know, the full scenario, right way from the video that I did about precancerous thing, is within this playlist. So if you found these videos, or this video, through YouTube search, you can go through the playlist and watch the entire scenario, including the period leading up to the operation. I'm sure you'll remember my low point where I was sat here ranting and raving about my operation being cancelled, which I'm very embarrassed about now. But it was like a culmination. That's just like a culmination of everything building and building. Not just with myself, but with my mum, who'd been sick for so long. And I just went for it. I just let it all out. And I felt better for letting it all out, but I should have done it. You know, I should have done that. But nevertheless, it's part of my journey, it's part of my experience. So that video is still there as well. From the day that the operation was cancelled, when I turned away at the doors and whatnot. But yeah, the whole scenario from beginning to now, hopefully the end, is there to anybody to watch and see the journey that I went on. So there we go, everybody. 1 year post-treatment. I may do another video year 2. I'll see. And of course, if, fingers crossed it doesn't, double fingers crossed it doesn't, you know, how many fingers can you cross? If there shouldn't be any sort of other problems, any flare-ups, any recurrence, and I'll let everybody know and do more videos about that. But assuming that doesn't happen, this is the end, hopefully. Until maybe at the 5-year mark or something. We'll see. Right, okay, thank you so much for all of the support that you've given to me during this scenario, not just with my mouth cancer, but with what happened to my mum, Mrs. P, as well. So, yeah, last year was a really, 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 really bad year for me and my family. You were absolutely amazing. You gave me so much support, so much encouragement, so much love, you know, and I couldn't have done it without all of you. So thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you, thank you so much. I will never be able to thank you, you know, enough for the support that you gave to me and to my family during what was a really, really, really horrible time through the first half of last year. But we're onwards and upwards now. We're moving on. Next thing I'm going to do is lose some weight. So I'll probably do a vlog about that. I'm going to maybe go to the gym and start trying to get myself a little bit more into shape, and you know, just generally get a little bit healthier. Now I feel fine, but I think I have put a little bit on, so it's time to lose a bit of weight, I think, and I'll probably do a vlog about that. And there will be more opinion poll vlogs coming up as well, of course, so watch out for those monthly general election opinion poll vlogs. But for this one, as I said, it's been a very long video, over 30 minutes. Thank you so much for sticking with it. For this one, that is all for now. Thank you for watching, and yeah, onwards and upwards. Thanks so much. Bye for now.